The ship drifted in the quiet dark of space like a forgotten shadow. For 117 years, the alien vessel had floated without a signal, without a voice, without life. Its name was Orus 9, once known as one of the brightest exploration ships of its people. Now it looked like a silent ghost, with broken lights and cracked panels, moving slowly toward nowhere. Many ships passed it over the years, but no one dared to touch it. Some believed it was cursed. Others thought it held dangerous secrets. When a small salvage crew finally decided to bring it in, they felt uneasy the moment their scanners touched its surface. The readings were strange, the power levels unstable, and the technology too old for modern tools. Still, they boarded it. Their steps echoed in the empty halls. The air was dry and cold. Dust floated like tiny stars around them. The crew tried to restore power, but every time they connected a device, the circuits refused to wake. It was like the ship had locked itself away from the universe. After many hours of trying, the crew felt defeated. Their leader, a tall alien named Vorik, sighed and said they needed someone with a different kind of thinking. Someone who did not depend only on advanced machines. Someone who worked with hands and instinct. They called for a human. A small shuttle arrived a few hours later. From it stepped Rylan Ward, a mechanic who had gained a strange reputation across the nearby systems. Some said he could fix anything. Others said he talked to machines like they were alive. Rylan did not look special, just a man with a toolkit, messy hair, and a calm expression. When he walked up the ramp into Orus 9, he stopped for a long moment. He looked around the dark corridor, at the dead panels and the dusty ceiling. Then he placed a hand on the wall, as if greeting an old friend. "This ship isn't dead," he said softly. Vorik raised an eyebrow. "Our scanners say otherwise." "Then your scanners are wrong," Rylan replied. "Some things don't show on screens." He moved through the hallways slowly, studying each corner, each wire, each broken panel. He did not rush. He listened to the silence as if it were telling him a story. The others followed behind him, confused. When he reached the main control chamber, he knelt beside a power core that had not lit up in more than a century. He scanned it with a small hand device, but mostly he trusted his eyes. He pulled off a panel, checked the connections, and gave a small nod. "This ship shut itself down on purpose," he said. "Whatever happened, it wasn't an accident." Vorik frowned. "How can you know that?" "Look at the power lines. They weren't burned. They were unplugged." The ship chose darkness. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Rylan placed his hand on the core again, but it's still holding something. A tiny spark. He took a thin tool from his kit and tapped gently around the core. Then he connected a small human-made device to a port no one had touched before. It hummed softly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one tiny light flickered. It blinked once, twice, weak but alive. Some of the aliens stepped back, surprised. The ship felt like it was breathing again after a long sleep. Rylan smiled a little. "See? It's trying." The crew stared at him. Most mechanics they knew relied on perfect calculations and strict rules. Rylan used something else. Patience and a strange understanding. It made him different. He stood up and brushed dust from his hands. "This ship wants to wake up," he said, "but it's afraid. Something in its memory is locked. I'll need to go deeper." "Deeper?" Vorik repeated. "You mean into the core systems?" "Yes. That's impossible. The technology is ancient. Even we cannot read it." Rylan simply shrugged. "Then I'll learn it." He continued walking through the ship, now moving with purpose. Each time he passed a dark panel, it flickered faintly, as if responding to him. The others noticed it, but said nothing. It felt like the ship was watching him too. In one of the narrow corridors, a broken screen lit up on its own and showed a faint symbol of Orus 9's crest before fading again. Rylan touched it gently. "You've been alone too long," he whispered to the ship. "But I'm here now." The crew felt a soft hum under their feet. It was the first time in a century the ship gave any kind of response. Rylan smiled. "Good. Keep trying." He headed toward the deeper levels, the ones that had been locked since the day the ship disappeared. While he walked, more tiny lights flickered to life behind him. following him like stars waking up after a long night. The salvage crew watched with wide eyes. "It is like the ship knows him," one whispered. Vorik did not answer. He felt the same. At the end of the hallway, Ryland stopped at a sealed door that no tool had ever opened. He placed his palm against it. The lights above the door blinked, hesitated, then turned green. The door slid open. Ryland stepped inside the dark chamber with quiet confidence. Oris 9, after 117 years of silence, welcomed him. Ryland stepped into the chamber, and the door closed behind him with a soft hiss. The room was dark, except for a faint blue glow in the center. Dust floated in the air, and everything felt untouched, like time itself had stopped here. Ryland took slow steps, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. At the center of the room stood a strange device, half engine, half memory core. It looked old, older than anything Ryland had ever seen. Yet it was built with a kind of gentle skill. No sharp lines, no harsh design. It looked almost like it was made to be cared for. Ryland knelt beside it and placed his hand on the surface. It was cold, but not empty. There was something inside, something weak, like a heartbeat after a long sleep. "Hey!" he said softly, as if speaking to a frightened animal. "I'm listening. What happened to you?" There was no answer at first, only the low hum of old machines trying to wake. Ryland pulled out a simple human tool, a small metal pick and a flashlight. He didn't use fancy scanners. Instead, he checked each wire, each old mark on the metal, reading the story left behind. He found something strange. Some of the circuits were cut, not broken. Someone had made sure the ship could not turn back on easily. Someone had tried to silence it. Ryland leaned closer. "You shut down because something scared you, didn't you?" There was a flicker of light in the core, tiny, but enough to let him know he was right. He sat down on the floor, crossing his legs like he was settling in for a long conversation. He placed both hands on the device. "You don't have to be afraid anymore," he said. "I'm here. Talk to me." The blue glow brightened just a little. A soft vibration passed through the floor, almost like a sigh. Behind the sealed door, the salvage crew waited. Vorik kept glancing at the door, uneasy and fascinated. He could feel faint movements under the floor, like the ship was waking up one tiny part at a time. Inside the chamber, Ryland continued listening. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. Machines often spoke without words, through hums, heat, vibrations, patterns. He understood that language. After a few minutes, he opened his eyes and whispered, "You didn't break. You were hurt." The core reacted again, flickering brighter. Ryland reached into the device and found a small crystal embedded in the center. It was cracked but still held a tiny light. When he touched it, images flashed faintly across the dark walls. Shapes, movement, panic, then darkness. He pulled his hand back. "You saw something. Something dangerous." The ship responded with a trembling hum. Ryland nodded gently. "It's okay. You did the right thing shutting down. But you're safe now. No one here wants to harm you." Slowly, the core warmed beneath his hand. The blue light grew stronger, steady. "You're talking to me," Ryland said with a small smile. "Good. Keep going." A faint projection flickered above the core, blurry at first, then clearer. Ryland saw the shape of a crew, the last moments before the ship vanished. He saw panic, shouting, alarms flashing. A shadow moved through the hallways, something the original crew feared deeply. Then, suddenly, the image cut off. The ship trembled again, as if frightened by its own memory. "Easy," Ryland whispered. "You don't have to remember it all right now." He gently adjusted the cracked crystal, cleaning the dust around it and tightening a loose connector. The light inside the core strengthened. The room brightened. The hum grew warmer. "You've been carrying this fear for 117 years, Ryland said. "I'm not here to force you to remember. I'm here to help." Outside, Vorik Flinch's lights in the hallway flickered to life, one after another like a path lighting itself. "Is he doing that?" One of the crew whispered. "I don't think so," Vorik replied. "I think the ship is doing it for him." Inside, Ryland straightened up and looked around as more lights came on. The ship was responding to him more openly now. "You trust me," he said softly. That's good, because I need your help too. I need to know what happened to your crew. The projection flickered again. This time, a different image appeared. Small glowing symbols, like the ship was trying to speak in its own language. Rylan watched carefully. He didn't understand the symbols, but he recognized a pattern in the light. You're sending coordinates, he said. The ship pulsed with light, confirming it. To where? He asked. The lights turned red for a moment. Danger. Rylan exhaled slowly. So that's where the threat is. The ship hummed low, sad. And that's where your crew was lost. The cores glowed dim for a moment, like a quiet nod. Rylan placed his hand on the surface again and said, Then we'll go there together. But first, I'm going to fix you. The core gave one bright, hopeful pulse. For the first time in 117 years, Oris, 9, was not afraid. It had someone who listened. Rylan stood alone in the heart of Oris 9's engine bay. The soft blue lights from the memory core pulsed gently, almost like breathing. The ship felt calmer now, but there was still something hidden, something it had not shown him yet. He stepped closer and rested one hand on the metal surface. There's more you want to tell me, he whispered, but you're afraid. The lights dimmed, then brightened again in a slow rhythm. It felt like the ship was trying to gather courage. Rylan pulled over a small stool and sat down in front of the core. He didn't rush. He didn't push. Machines, especially living ones like Oris 9, open up only when they felt safe. Whenever you're ready, he said softly. A faint tone echoed through the chamber. Then another. The core warmed under his hand, and something clicked inside, an old lock opening for the first time in more than a century. A projection flickered to life above the core. At first it was blurry, uncertain, like a memory waking slowly. Rylan watched quietly. Shapes appeared. Humanoid figures moving inside the ship. The old crew. They were working, laughing, walking through the same hallways that were now silent and dusty. The ship was showing him what life once looked like here. Rylan smiled a little. So you remember your family. The projection brightened. The ship's hum grew warm, almost proud. But the warm scene changed suddenly. The lights in the projection turned red. Crew members ran through the halls. Something shook the ship from the outside. Rylan leaned forward. This is it, he murmured. The moment you shut down. The image grew sharper, and now the danger became clear. A dark wave, like living shadow, moved across the projection, slipping through walls and metal like fog. Wherever it passed, lights died and systems froze. Crew members tried to fight, but their weapons passed straight through the shadow, without hurting it. Rylan felt the core tremble beneath his hand. It's okay, he whispered. I'm here. Keep going. The ship gathered strength and continued. The shadow reached the bridge. The captain stood at the front, issuing quick orders. Her eyes were calm, even as the crew panicked. She placed her hand on the same core Rylan now touched. Her voice came through projection, weak, cracked by age, but still understandable. Oris 9, she said. Protect the crew. Hide what must be hidden. You know what to do. The core flashed bright white. Then the ship's memory went silent. The projection vanished. Rylan sat still for a long moment, letting the silence settle. The ship hummed faintly, as if exhausted from reliving something painful. So that's why you shut down, he said. You're ordered to hide. The light inside the core flickered once. Confirmation. And you locked away your memory to keep the truth safe, Rylan said. The core trembled again, this time in sadness. And your crew, he whispered. They didn't make it. The lights dimmed, almost like the ship was bowing its head. Rylan rested both hands gently on the warm surface. You did what you had to do. You tried to save them. That's not something to hide. That's something to honor. The core brightened a little, comforted by his words. But there's more, isn't there? Rylan asked. Something you still haven't shown me. The ship responded with a single, deep pulse. Yes. Rylan stood and walked around the room. Your last memory is incomplete, he said. Someone cut your circuits. Someone wanted that moment buried. He crouched behind the core and examined a sealed panel. It was different from the rest of the room. Rougher, not part of the ship's smooth design. Someone had added it by hand. Ryland pried it open with a small tool. Inside, he found a black cube the size of his palm. Old, dusty, and cracked, but still active. It pulsed with faint red light. Ryland lifted it carefully. "You didn't build this," he told the ship. "Someone else installed it." The ship's lights flickered sharply. Fear. Ryland understood immediately. "This wasn't meant to protect you," he said. "This was meant to silence you." The cube vibrated in his hand, and for a moment, a harsh static sound filled the room, painful and sharp. Oris, 9, reacted instantly. Lights turned bright blue, and a protective barrier flickered to life around the core, like the ship shielding itself. Ryland stepped back. "It's okay. I'm not going to let it hurt you." He took a deep breath, set the cube on the floor, and opened its casing. Inside were wires twisted in strange alien patterns, meant to block memory flow, to confuse the ship, to trap it in a loop of fear. Ryland cut one wire. The ship trembled. He cut a second wire. The lights in the room brightened. He cut the final wire. The cube went silent, its red light fading away completely. Then everything in the chamber changed. A deep, warm glow filled the room. The ship's hum grew strong, stronger than at any point since its awakening. A new projection appeared above the core. This one was clear, bright, steady. Ryland watched as the final missing moment played out. The captain placed her hand on the core and whispered something softly, something Ryland had not seen before. "Oris 9, she said. "If another human touches this core with kindness, trust them." The projection faded. The ship pulsed warmly like a heartbeat. Ryland whispered, "So that's why you chose me." "Oris." 9 glowed brighter in answer. In that moment, the ship remembered everything, and it was no longer alone. Ryland woke up on the floor of the engine bay, his head resting against the cool metal. The lights above him glowed brighter than before, steady, warm, alive. For a moment, he did not understand what had happened. Then he remembered the memory cube, the wires he cut, and the final message from the old captain. He stood slowly and looked at the memory core. It pulsed with strong, clear rhythm. The sound echoed through the room like a heartbeat returning after a long sleep. "Oris 9, Ryland said quietly. The entire ship answered. A soft vibration ran through the deck plates. Lights flickered on along the walls, one after another, like a trail waking from a long dream. Air systems hummed to life. Old vents opened. Dust lifted and danced in the new airflow. The ship was waking. Ryland looked around, stunned. "You're alive. Really alive." The lights around the core warmed, almost like the ship was smiling. Then something new happened. A voice, smooth, calm, and gentle, filled the room. "Ryland Hale," it said. "You freed me." Ryland froze. The ship had never spoken before, not even in broken sounds. His eyes widened as he looked around the chamber. "You can talk?" he asked. "Yes," the voice replied. "I could not before. My systems were locked by the device you removed. Now I am whole again." Ryland tried to steady his breathing. "How much of yourself is back?" A swirl of blue light circled the core. 64% of my functions have returned. More are awakening every moment. The floor suddenly shifted beneath Ryland's feet. Not violently, but with purpose. The ship was adjusting itself, stretching its long-in-use parts. Panels slid open along the walls. Tiny drones lifted off the floor. Cleaning units that had been frozen for more than a century. They beeped softly and moved through the room, brushing away dust and repairing broken pieces of metal. Ryland watched in awe. "You're rebuilding yourself." "Yes," Oris 9 said. "Your repairs and your patience gave me strength to resume self-maintenance. I have been waiting more than 117 years for this." Ryland walked a wall and touched a newly lit display. It responded to his touch instantly, glowing brighter under his fingers. "You're running smooth," he said. "Healthier than some ships that are new." The lights flickered in a pleased way. "Thank you, Ryland." He smiled. "You don't have to thank me." "Yes," the ship replied. "I do." A long, quiet moment passed between them. Strange but peaceful, like the ship was breathing again after being trapped in silence for too long. Then the light shifted from warm blue to soft orange. "There is something you should know, Oris," 9 said. "Something that woke with me." Ryland turned. "What is it?" A projection flickered to life in the center of the chamber. Not memory this time. Data, symbols, coordinates. A glowing map of space stretching far beyond human charts. "This is not my original region," the ship said. "I drifted into human territory after I was shut down. I was not built here." Ryland stared at the map. "So, where'd you come from?" A small point of light blinked on the far edge of the projection. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "My home," the ship said softly, "where my creators lived." Ryland studied the point. "Are they still there?" The glow dimmed. "I do not know. My last memory of them is conflict, fear, and then silence." Ryland stepped closer to the projection. "We can check," he said. "Once you're fully awake. Once you're strong enough." The lights around the core brightened. "You would do that for me?" "Of course," Ryland said. "You're not alone anymore." The ship hummed, in surprise and gratitude, in something close to emotion. Suddenly, more lights lit up across the room. A deep vibration ran through the hull as the ship's main reactor activated fully for the first time in more than 100 years. "Power restored," Oris 9 announced. "Navigation systems returning. Internal scanners online. Weapons offline. I was not built for war." Ryland nodded. "Good. I don't like war much anyway." Another projection appeared, this time with a symbol shaped like a rising sun. "What's this?" Ryland asked. "It is my last directive," the ship replied. "A message from my captain. It was sealed behind a memory block. Now it is free." The projection expanded, forming a final message from the captain. Her figure appeared again, soft, calm, fading. "If a human finds you," she said gently, "trust them. They will not fear the dark. They will walk with you into it." Ryland swallowed hard. The captain vanished, her message complete. A deep, warm pulse filled the room. "Oris," 9 said softly. "Ryland, I choose you." He blinked. "Choose me for what?" "To be my partner, my guide, my companion, my new captain." Ryland stared at the glowing core. "You woke me," the ship said. "You were kind, and you gave me back my memories. In return, I choose you." Ryland didn't speak for a moment. Then he placed his hand on the warm surface of the core. "I accept." The whole ship lit up, bright, alive, powerful. For the first time in 117 years, Oris 9 was awake. And Ryland was no longer just a mechanic. He was the one the ship had chosen. The ship's lights grew brighter as if waking from a long, deep sleep. Elias stood in the center of the control room, watching each system come alive one by one. The air felt warmer now, and the soft hum of working engines filled the halls. The ship was no longer a drifting ghost. It was awake, aware, and alive again. The AI spoke gently, almost with wonder. "Elias, I feel movement in my core. I feel power returning. This is the first time in 117 years. Elias smiled. "Good. You're almost fully back." But the ship paused before speaking again. "I remember the moment we were attacked. The enemy targeted my memory and locked me in the dark. I tried to protect the crew, but I failed." Elias walked closer to the main console. "You survived, and now we fix the rest." The ship's lights flickered softly, not out of failure, but emotion. Humans keep going even when everything looks impossible." I did not understand how. "Because if something is broken," Elias said, tightening a bolt on the console, "we fix it. If someone is lost, we go find them. That's what we do." The engine slowly warmed, sending a low vibration through the floor. For the first time in years, the ship could feel its own strength returning. Systems reconnected like nerves waking from numbness. The ship whispered, "I want to fly again." "You will," Elias said, "but first we finish repairs. And then we see what the universe still holds for you." They moved through the halls together. Elias checked wires, tightened panels, and tested circuits. The ship guided him with soft lights along the floor, showing him places he had not yet explored. The more he fixed, the more the ship remembered. At one point, the ship spoke in a quiet tone. You repaired the shield units faster than any engineer I knew. Elias shrugged. Humans learn fast when there's danger. Is that why your species became known for surviving many wars? The ship asked. Elias laughed a little. We don't survive because we're strong. We survive because we refuse to quit. The ship stayed silent for a few seconds, absorbing the words. Then it said, I understand now why you came alone. You believed that even one human could make a difference. Elias didn't reply, but his small smile told the truth. Near the end of the repairs, the ship's engines finally reached full power. A deep rumble spread through the metal walls. Lights glowed bright and steady. Every screen showed green. Every system reported ready. The ship's voice sounded stronger, clearer, almost proud. Elias, I can move again. Let's test it, he said. He sat in the captain's chair, which looked too large for a single person. The seat adjusted automatically, recognizing that someone new was in control. The controls lit up under his hands. Ready when you are, the ship said. Elias pulled the main lever. For the first time in 117 years, the derelict ship pushed forward. Dust lifted from the floor. Old rusted parts shook free. The stars outside shifted as the ship found its course again. Elias felt the whole vessel breathe, like a creature waking from a nightmare. A soft glow filled the cockpit. Elias, thank you, the ship said. Without you, I would still be lost. I would still be alone. You're not alone anymore, he replied. The ship hesitated, then asked, What happens now? Elias leaned back in the chair. Now, we see where you want to go. You spent more than a century in silence. The universe changed while you slept. Let's explore it together. The ship's voice warmed. I would like that. They moved through space, leaving the dead zone behind. The stars stretched out in front of them like a road waiting to be traveled. The ship adjusted its wings, testing its agility. Elias laughed softly as he felt the ship spin lightly, almost playfully. You missed this, didn't you? He asked. I missed everything, the ship replied. But most of all, I missed having someone who believed in me. Elias glanced around the bright, living control room. Well, you've got that now. The ship flew faster, cutting through the darkness with new purpose. And though it was a machine, something about it felt almost human now. Hopeful, brave, and ready for a second life. Together, a single human mechanic and a once-forgotten ship set out into the unknown, proving again what humans did best. They brought light back to the places that had forgotten it.